Hey everybody. Welcome to the stream. I just paused for a second. I have no idea why. But welcome to the first stream or first episode discussion for Friday the 13th, the series, season one. I had originally planned for TJ and I to discuss the first 10 episodes. Hey, Blissful. However, I'm going to sneeze again. Excuse me. Goodness gracious. I haven't sneezed much all day, and then I go and get on the stream and start sneezing. Okay, so again, I had originally planned for TJ and I to thank you, Super Batman Nerd, uh, to cover the first 10 episodes. Um, do you not see the link, TJ? Let me put it back in the chat here, TJ. Can anybody see the link? I put it back in there, TJ. If you don't see it this time, I'll send it to you in Facebook Messenger. Sorry about that. It disappeared. What the heck? Okay. I'm just gonna I don't know. I don't know what in the hell. Well, Super Batman Nerd says he sees it. TJ, if you don't see it now, I can send it to you in Messenger. Hold on just 1 second here. There's been some crazy ass stuff going on between YouTube and StreamYard lately. I don't know if it's on my end, their end, what's going on. But TJ, in case you don't see it in the chat, I just sent it to you on Facebook Messenger. Um, so it's very weird, strange. Let me check something here. So, yeah, it looks like looks like when I'm looking at, well, yeah, I don't know what happened. I put it in there earlier, but I don't know why it disappeared. But I put it back in there, and I also sent it to TJ in Facebook Messenger in case, you know, it disappears again. I don't know what in the heck. This stuff has been going on for like about a week or maybe a week and a half with this weird ass stuff going on. So I don't know. I don't know if YouTube is like having an issue, if StreamYard's having an issue, if it's something to do with my internet. I just don't know. Um, but anyway, hopefully TJ will be on here in a little bit. Okay. So anyway, we had to cut it. Well, I had to cut it down to 5 because I just, 45-minute episodes a piece. I just didn't see how I was. All right, I think TJ is gonna be on here. Jason ain't here. Yeah, that's exactly right. You're not gonna find Jason in this. If you were expecting Jason, I'm sorry about that. But Friday the 13th, the series, um, they did mention, Friday the 13th, like the day Friday the 13th, but um, I'm a little fuzzy on some of the later episodes. It may have been that they mentioned, like, or had a hockey mask or did something. But I'm going to have to refresh myself on all that. Um, but anyway, we're going to be covering the first 5 episodes of Friday the 13th, the series, season one. And I must say, like, I'm going to get TJ's opinion when I get him on here. But I must say the quality is so shitty even on the set. I mean, it's like what in the world was Paramount thinking when they did this? Like, because I expect a lot of old television shows to be kind of fuzzy and stuff, but it wasn't just that. It was where it had the lines on the side. There were like big white lines on the sides of the picture. And I was like, that is just shoddy. So I don't know. I've never seen that with any of the television shows. Um, let's see. Blissful, you say, of course, I did walk by my Amazon order several times and got an ice cube stuck to my nose today, so I'm not reliable. Oh, goodness. Super Batman Nerd, you say, fool me once with part 5, won't get fooled again. Just like the Who song, right? Um, TJ says, I watched it on YouTube and it seemed like late night TV quality. Look, LOL. Yeah. Um, yeah, it's not the best, but I went on and bought the complete series, even though it's got that really lame cover on it. I'm like, I don't know who thought that this was a great idea as well. But anyway, I could complain all day about the quality of it. It wouldn't get us anywhere. So what I'm going to do is go over the upcoming watch alongs. I've got a few things or 3 things to show for the Daily Grindhouse, and then TJ and I are going to get started with discussing these 5 episodes. So what do we got upcoming? So July 8th, which will be this Saturday, is Superstition. July 9th, Summer School. July 15th will be the 1990 Scream. July 16th, Sleepaway Camp. July 22nd, Jaws 2. July 23rd will be the John Cusack joint Say Anything. Probably one of my favorite John Cusack films. July 29th, Sleepaway Camp 2. July 30th, Sleepaway Camp 3. August 5th will start my first ever 2-part watch along, and that's going to be for Stephen King's Salem's Lot, directed by the late great Tobe Hooper. So part 1 of that will be August 5th, and the second part will be August 6th. August 12th will be the mostly talked about in derogatory terms Terror on Tour, and that will be followed by August 13th, probably what a lot of people consider to be one of the greatest music movies ever made, Almost Famous. August 19th will be the original Pet Cemetery. August 20th, Fast Times at Ridgemont High. August 26th will be the original Carrie, directed by Brian De Palma. And August 27th will be Mystic Pizza. Hopefully, I will be able to get my own frozen Mystic Pizza from the local Whole Foods. Okay, so that's what we got upcoming as far as watch alongs. Now, not this Saturday, but the following Saturday, I've been invited to be on Dirk and Darren's An Hour to Kill, and we're going to be talking about unpopular opinion. So I think we're all going to have 5 movies that we really like, and a lot of other people seem to hate. So you can probably guess several of the ones that I'm going to be picking for my 5. So that'll be upcoming. Also, July 27th, I have been invited to be on a horror roundtable with John Grande. So there'll probably be some other people on there since it's a horror roundtable. So I'm really looking forward to that. Hey, Gory Tiger. Oh, hey, KF. You say, hey, Dana, I'm one of the silent majority. Just wanted to say I watch all the time and enjoy your channel. Well, thank you, KF. And stop by anytime and talk it up in the chat. I always like seeing new people in here, as well as the people that have been around for a while. But I'm glad that you've been watching, even if you haven't been in the chats. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and kick off the daily grindhouse here so I can show off 3 things, and then uh, I'll add TJ and we'll get started with these episodes. So here we go. All righty. So what did I get in today? Haven't even had time to watch and or listen to any of these yet. But I did get in. I finally got my very own copy of the 4K of House on the Edge of the Park. I finally broke down and got it. This is from 88 Films. I can't speak to the quality of it because I haven't, actually watched it yet. But it does have, well, it has a little booklet with it. And there's also a pretty cool, I guess, double-sided like mini poster here. So you've got that. And then you've got that. So that's about all I can show you as far as visuals, but hopefully I'll get a chance to take a gander at this soon so I can report back on the quality of it. Usually 88 Films does a good job with their disc. And Steve did warn me. He said, make sure that sucker's region free, the one that you get, because they are starting to region lock 4Ks. And I know some people were saying, I know they'll never do that to the 4Ks, but I figured it was coming. It eventually happened to the Blu-rays, so hence I figured it would happen to the 4Ks as well. So again, I will promise I will report back on the quality of that once I've had a chance to take a look at it. Okay, so these other 2 things, I fully blame Phantasmat for getting me excited about these and wanting to search them out to buy them. Because when I was on the Ruggero Deodato episode of Uncle Bill's Tour of Italy, Phantasmat was on there. And Stuntman Mark was on there as well. But Phantasmat was the one that was showing the LPs, okay, or the vinyl. So I had to get House on the Edge of the Park and Cannibal Holocaust. And again, I have not had a chance to listen to these yet, but again, I will report back as soon as I have. These both have music by Riz Ortolani. I'm probably massacring that guy's name. But that is what I got in. I haven't heard about my Vinegar Syndrome order or my Severin order yet. But Steve asked me, he said, are you going to do an unboxing for those, Dana? I said, oh, I might surprise people and do course, I'll probably, open up the box and have it all ready to go and stuff. Because me, I can't stand to wait. I'm gonna have to get in there and start looking at what we got. So, Super Batman Nerdy say not to insult this series, but I think Freddy's Nightmares was better. Um, I always like Freddy's Nightmares, but if you were holding a gun to my head and said I had to pick my favorite, I'd probably still have to go with Friday 13th, the series. But to each his own or her own. Um, Thank you, Blissful. Blissful says, please hit the thumbs up. Thank you. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead now that I've showed off all my goodies here. I am going to go ahead and add TJ. Oh my, that's pretty cool.
Oh, my camera seems to be smudged.
Yeah, well, I was like, I didn't know if it was me.
Wait, it's going to take a second. That's better.
Oh, that's better. That's
now you can see my face clearly. Lucky you people.
It didn't. It doesn't look like we're looking at you through a film of Vaseline now.
Yeah.
Okay, so TJ, let me ask you this though: how many of these did you actually watch before I said, "Hey, we'll just do 5"?
3.
Okay, so it wasn't like you had watched 10 of them and said, "Damn it, Dana!" You now you're only saying 5.
We had a party last night, and I had to take my dad to his cancer treatment. So I didn't get to spend as much time watching it. So I was like, when you were like, oh, it's 5, I was like, perfect. I'll watch 2 more on fast forward.
Yeah, the last one I kind of had to fast forward quite a bit of it, which I hated because that was the Halloween episode.
That's a good one. You could have fast forwarded to the second one, but we'll get to that when we talk about it.
Yeah. That's what I probably should have done. I mean, I got enough out of it, and I did as I was going through it. I was like, "Oh yeah, I remember this episode. It's coming back to me now." So, do you want to? I guess why I've got you on here, TJ. I'll put you on the spot, maybe. Do you want to keep it at 5 episodes per stream, or do we want to bump it up any for the next one?
Maybe we should up it a little bit.
Okay.
Because if it goes too long, certain people will start complaining. I won't say who they are, but they're from Kentucky.
But we all know who they are.
Kentucky, that's all I'm going to say. Anyway.
Yeah, but they shouldn't complain about this. This is better.
Go ahead, sorry.
This should be better than Monsters for a lot of people, I would think. But
someone was saying Freddy's Nightmares was better than this show. This is a continuing character story where Freddy's Nightmares is it's an anthology. It's a totally different type of situation. So, I mean, it depends on what you like at the moment, I think. But
yeah. Can you even get, there's not a set out for Freddy's Nightmares, is there?
Some channel had it, like Comet or something. I don't know, one of those channels had it for, but
not
too many rights to issues on so many of those episodes that I don't know if they could do a legitimate American release of it.
Okay, so we'll kick this off with the first episode, the pilot episode, which is simply called The Inheritance. And so I'm going to turn it over to TJ, but I just wanted to give a precursory thing. This episode introduces us to the cousins, Ryan and Mickey. And they have inherited their Uncle Lewis's antique shop. But they get more than they bargained for once they get there and discover what it entails. And I will say, I want to say that Uncle Lewis is played by R.G. Armstrong. He's not in this episode very, very long, but he does pop back up in the Halloween episode. I'll just say that, and we'll get to that here shortly. So I'll let you kick this one off, TJ.
Yes. So we have we start off with Uncle Lewis, who owns the I forget the name of the store originally. And he sold his soul to the devil, and for pact with Satan, as you do. And I guess he tries to sort of renege on his deal there, and Satan's like, taking you, bitch, I got you. So so he disappears, and then we get introduced to Mickey first, played by Roby, who she's like a Canadian, so like she has a really interesting accent because certain words she says a certain way, and she pronounces T's very hard and stuff like that. And at first I was like, why is she talking so weird? And I was like, oh, she's Canadian, and she's also she was like a model, and she traveled all over the place. So she went to, and she knows like 5-6 languages, so that would explain that accent.
Did she ever do a music album, or am I just thinking of somebody else?
Yeah, before her acting days, she had like a punk rock band or something like that, and it was like Louise and the something, because her name is Louise Roby. Roby's her last name, and she used that as her professional name. So she had sort of like some kind of punk ska band, something like that. And then later on, she had an album. She had like a minor like dance hit back in the '80s. One Night in Bangkok, which was like, it was a remake of a song from a musical, and then some other dude in the '80s did a version of it, and he had a hit with it, and then she did sort of her version. She had a little bit of a hit with it, so, and then she had like one album, I think, and and then she was one of those people that she's just sexy girl on the beach, and this guy's like, click, and you're famous, and she was getting like $5,000 a day to model. I was like, I read that. I was like, $5,000 a day. Wish I was a hot girl. Damn it. I'd be selling my pictures. Anyway, that's we can talk about Robbie through the discussion of the series. We're not gonna like throw everything at you right now. But and then we get introduced to her cousin Ryan, who I guess they've never met before, and they don't really know each other.
Right.
He sort of leers at her a little bit, like he's into her, until he realizes, oh, we're cousins. But then he still looks at her.
Yeah, exactly. And there's
Dude, come on, it's your cousin. I know she's hot, but she's your cousin. Come on. As soon as you hear that, stop. Unless you're like from Deliverance, then it's okay. But other than that,
there's other episodes too, and we'll probably talk about it, where it's almost like he's hitting on her. Let's face it, though, Ryan's a horn dog. I mean,
he's a typical. Was he in his early 20s, something like that? Yeah,
I'd say so. Yeah.
So she's more the straight-laced, like serious type. She comes off a little like frigid at first, but she's very smart, as you can, if you pay attention to her character. It's like, okay, so we start off. She gets the letter that she has inherited this curio place. And she's about to get married, and her boyfriend's like, "Hey, honey, and he seems very misogynistic. He's like, honey, we gotta get married here. You can't go playing around with your stupid inheritance kind of thing." And then
I hate that guy.
He's a lawyer, or he's going to school to be a lawyer or whatever, and he makes a comment about, we should just sue your cousin so we can get we can get the whole thing and screw him. And she kind of gives him a face, so we kind of realize she's not a terrible person. Somebody wrote a review, and they're like, oh, she's sort of stuck up. And I'm like, I don't think so. I think she's sort of she knows what she wants. She knows what's going on. She doesn't want to spend time. She just wants to go liquidate this building and all its assets, and just go on with her life and get married. And when she gets introduced to Ryan's more like a young dude. He's a comic book nerd, and he's geeky, and it's the mid '80s, and he just wants. He's like, oh, this is kind of cool. Maybe we should run this business and see what we got and whatever. I like that he's a comic book nerd, because that comes into play during the series. Is one of my favorite episodes is a comic book related episode. That's coming later. But yeah, so to get back on track. They're like, okay, there's all this all these antiques and furniture and paintings and whatnot, and they get a visitor one night who they think is trying to rob the place, but it's we find out it's Uncle Lewis's partner, Jack. Jack Marshak, right? Yeah. Jack Marshak. And he's like he's British. He's got a British accent. Like he's another guy. He's from Canada also. This whole production is Canadian for the most part, so a lot of these people are Canadian. I think John D. LeMay, who plays Ryan, I think is he Canadian too? I don't know if he's.
He may be.
Ryan, John D. LeMay, people remember from their favorite Friday the 13th part.
Yeah,
Friday. Yeah.
He actually not only was in this series, which has nothing to do with Jason, but he did show up in Jason Goes to Hell.
He plays. He's the freaking Ray of Sunshine's father.
Yeah.
You're not gonna take that freaking. She said frickin'. I forget what she's sweet. Anyway. Yeah. So. He's like, first he's like, oh yeah, Lewis owed me money and I'm here to claim it. But we find out there's more to him than just, shady business deals with Uncle Lewis. He actually procured a lot of the stuff that is in the shop. I forgot we have the opening with Uncle Lewis and this couple and their little daughter come in out of it's like a pouring rainstorm, thunder and lightning. Best first episode. It has to be stormy and thunder and lightning and all that stuff. And she's sort of this little bratty kid that she's annoying. This kid, I hate. Played by Sarah Polley, who she's a director, but if people would know her from the Dawn of the Dead remake, she was the main character in the Dawn of the Dead remake. But she's very little in it. She's like, I'm like,
yeah.
And she's cute, but like her character is just like spoiled brat and
bratty. Yeah.
This is her stepmother, so she doesn't care what the mother says, what she does, and she runs around and she finds this weird doll who does it talk at that point? I think it talked. It's not talking.
I think it whispers to her.
Yeah, that's right. It's this creepy ass white porcelain, scary ass doll. I mean, I'm like, why are these little kids like? I know it's a horror series, but why are these kids attracted to these scary ass little cute? What?
It's ugly too. I mean, it wouldn't.
It's not as bad as like what's that? Raggedy and not Raggedy, the other. What's the movie? I can't remember things. I have no memory. What's the doll?
You talking about like the
Conjuring doll?
Oh, the Conjuring doll. Oh yeah.
What's her name? Anybody in the chat now?
Annabelle.
Annabelle, that's it. Now Annabelle's ugly bitch. But this doll's just not like it looks like an old doll from like the 1800s or something like, or 1700s. One of those really old. But it's spooky looking more than like. It's got these big eyes and the big face. It's just there's something off about it. So it's like not totally ugly, but it's not. Like I said, I don't know why a little kid would want this doll. And there's other dolls in the shop that I'm like, pick that one. I mean, that's like the doll in Poltergeist. Who would want that spooky ass clown doll? I mean, come on.
I don't know. That is a creepy ass doll.
But anyway, he ends up chasing them off because the dolls. He realized the dolls, I guess connecting to the little girl. He's like, get out of here, get out of my place. Nothing here is for sale. Leave, whatever. Anyway, so I missed that part of the prologue. Anyway, jump back to Ryan, Mickey, and Jack. we discovered that everything is cursed in the everything in the shop. There's this back room, which is sort of this brick wall that has been opened up, and there's this big um, it's like a 2 doors or whatever, but it's a big safe in the back, basically.
Yeah, they call it a vault, I believe.
Vault, yeah, that's it. And Mickey gets trapped in there, and the doll sort of comes to life. But she's just, at first she's like, oh, at first, because we don't know what's going on. So to put this in perspective, this is a precursor to Mulder and Scully. Yeah. Now, Jack and Ryan are sort of a combined Mulder, and she's Scully, but a little bit more open to things than Scully is during the whole series. Scully sees crazy shit every episode. And she still doesn't know, oh, this isn't real. I'm like, bitch, please. And they're both redheads, too. That's another thing. Mickey and Scully are both redheads. People who love X-Files and should give some credit to Friday the 13th, the series, because I don't think it would have been. I think they saw the series. I don't think they stole it, per se. I'm just saying that the setup is very X-Files.
Right. And now, if Uncle Bill was in here, he might argue with us about that, because I know he's a big X-Files fan.
And X-Files is a great show, and it's very, it's the right. I don't know what the writing is, but I mean, yeah. I mean, it's a more mature writing. This show has comedic aspects, like John D. LeMay throws out one-liners all the time, and there's some light humor through the situations. But I think in real life, if you had to, so they find out they have to basically get all the cursed items that Uncle Lewis sold, and they also sold stuff at they're going out of business garage sale before they found out that everything was cursed. So part of this episode goes into the possessed doll, and the little girl and her family situation, but it's more to set up all the characters than to really show the story. Like, I think they could have did more with the story, with the doll, than they did. But like I said, it's to set up the characters. Even if Mickey comes off a little frigid, she realizes, she's like, these items are cursed. I don't really believe it, but I believe it enough that we should do something about it. And especially this little girl was sold this doll, and she's like, well, we got to make sure that we get this doll for this, so this little girl doesn't go through, whatever. So I think, like I said, she's very she can come off a little icy, but I think she's a pretty good character, likable character. Unless you just hate attractive people, and then you're like, oh, screw her. Anyway. But and then, so after we get the whole setup about the cursed items, and they're like, oh, this little girl has this doll, and we got to get the doll from her. And then they start their investigations of searching out where we have the check of the guy who bought the doll. We'll go to his house, and before something bad happens, but something does happen. The stepmother gets killed because the little brat does not like her at all, and her and the doll conspire to kill her. And the doll just says, "We should kill your mother." And the little girl's like, "Okay." Like, this kid is just screwed up.
Like, what's wrong with this kid?
Yeah, this kid deserves nothing. Nothing happens to this kid. So I mean, if you're like one of those people that doesn't like kid in danger movies, this kid is never in danger, but this kid is the danger. This is like the good seed meets the chick who's not really young, she's old. What's that? The orphan. Yeah, this is like those two.
Oh yeah.
So and then Ryan and Mickey like, we gotta go to the house, and she's dead. Well, she's not dead. She doesn't die at first. She gets pushed down the stairs, and she's in the hospital. You know, like her neck's all, you know, in a one of those neck braces, and she's immobilized in the bed and she can't move. She wakes up, and the husband was this sort of a wishy-washy type of like, oh, we'll spoil my daughter rotten because her mother died. Like, okay, that makes sense, but then he keeps spoiling her.
He's a wuss. We just have to say it.
Like, I don't think the wife, the second wife, married him just for his money, but I don't know. I mean, she comes off bad, but she is right about this kid being a brat, and this kid needs discipline, and this kid shouldn't be getting everything they want, and she undermines her at every turn, and it's like, yeah, this. And she says at one point, "I don't hate you, but you're gonna learn to." I mean, this is, if it was my kid, I'd be like, "I don't hate you, but stop being a bitch." So anyway, so she's in the bed, and she doesn't get away because the little girl, I guess, brings the doll to her, and the doll, I guess, smothers her to death.
Yeah, that's
sort of on her face and whatever. Yeah,
or gives her a heart attack while it's smothering her.
Yeah, it's like Tourist Trap, where that girl gets suffocated, but she dies of fright, not because she was suffocated. I think
that, I know we're not talking about that movie, but that scene, just because I'm so claustrophobic, that scene just.
Oh yeah. Yeah. So we off the stepmother, and then the father has to do all the services for the funeral and all that stuff. So they leave the little girl, with the next door neighbor, a very sweet old lady who the little girl is just like a bitch too. She's a bitch to everybody. She's like
the sweet old lady.
Yeah, it's like she's like, you ate a whole box of cookies. It's a girl. I want more cookies, but honey, you ate a whole box. I want one. She's like, okay, your stepmother just died and your other mother died not too long ago. I'll give you some more cookies. But she's like, give me them. I'm like, boy, this is just like, there's nothing. Like, I wish the kid should have died. I'm sorry. Because as we watch this series, the people who have the cursed objects, for the most part, are not that redeemable.
No, they are not.
It's a very EC Comics. They get their comeuppance type of situation.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's very few people, I think. Well, rewatching the episodes, I'll see whether I'm right or not. But I think for the most part, anybody who has the cursed object already had like issues with their life that
they're definitely not good people to start with.
So Mickey and Ryan break and enter. They do a lot of breaking and entering during the series.
Yes, they do.
They do a lot of, oh yeah, we're cops. Oh yeah, we're reporters. Oh yeah. At one point, they're just like, look, we're just a couple of people who own an antique. We want our damn antique back, you bitch. That's basically what a lot of these episodes they do. But when we get to another episode, there's something about practices of the law and what really is supposed to happen in real life and what happens on a TV show. Anyway, so they go and they're like, oh, we gotta get this doll from the kid. Obviously, the kid still has the doll before anything else happens. So the I can't say CGI because this was not CGI back in 1987, but there's some questionable effects.
Yeah, I hate to say it because I do like this series, but some of the effects are pretty lame.
It's 1987. It was a TV series. They had like $500,000, and I don't know how much of that went to like actors and sets and all that kind of stuff. So you got to forgive it a little bit. Also,
right.
I don't think the show. I think the show had. Well, I think the demographic was from like 18 to 49, and it was mostly males. So I think at least at the time, people, especially, and I think it was like on like late at night.
Yeah, it was.
So it's not like it was like during the time where everybody was like awake and chipper and they could spot every little thing. And then
Yeah, it wasn't on prime time.
yeah, no. But like I said, some of the effects are questionable. Like the neighbor gets attacked by this sort of was it a jump rope that like strangles her, and there's a point where she's strangled, and like it's like in Poltergeist when all the stuff starts flying at the investigators. That sort of happens with her. The babysitter neighbor. So all the stuff's flying at her. Oh, kind of like The Exorcist when the sorrow is mine. That scene. We get a lot of flying stuff, and then, like I said, we get a questionable jump rope visual effect.
But that didn't look as bad as an effect we're going to talk about in the second episode.
So I think it might have been stop motion too. That's probably why it was so jerky the way it looked. I think a lot of it might be stop. Yeah, and she doesn't die though. She's sort of unconscious, and Mickey and Ryan sort of come. That's another thing too. They sort of either come in after something happened, or they come in like right before it like could have been really bad. So Ryan's calling the ambulance, and Mickey, because we have to have the little thing between the. We're gonna give more. I guess they're giving a lot to Mickey. Like they're really building up her character to be sort of like the main character, I think, or at least the most responsible one, and the one who's gonna like.
Yeah, the most responsible one, because Ryan seems like he hasn't grown up all the way.
Yeah.
Actually, like a lot of men. No offense, TJ, but
it's okay. Yeah, so she's like, oh, you gotta give me that doll back, and she's trying to reason with the little demon brat, and it's just not, it's impossible at this point. And the kids like gives she's like, so when so the doll hisses at some points in the evil hissing doll. It like does it to like I think it's the neighbor lady, and no, she does it, or is it it's either the neighbor lady or the stepmother, where she's just laughing. But right after the stepmother dies, she's playing with the doll in the hospital room, and she's just like, ha, 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 ha. I'm like, you're a crazy little girl. So she's very like happy with the evil. She's an evil child. Anyway, so yeah. So Ryan, like I said, Mickey's trying to reason with her, and they end up on like the little roundabout thing, where the little girl's on it, and the demon possessed doll is making it spin around, so Mickey can't get to her, but Mickey ends up jumping on it and trying to get the doll. And at this point, Mickey's like, "Just give me the damn doll! I'm not trying to be nice to her. I want this damn doll." She throws her off. She gets thrown. The little girl gets thrown off the thing onto the ground, and I was like, "Good. She should die." Anyway, I don't wish anything bad on children, but this character is terrible. If she was 10 years older, they probably would have killed her off, I think. But yeah. So anyway, Mickey gets the doll, and she scraped her knee a little bit. She's fine, little girl, and so we have sort of what happens in every episode, where we have the wrap up at the end of the episode, where the three of them talk about what just happened, and sometimes set up the next episode. There's a point where Mickey goes, "Do you think the little girl will be all right?" And then Ryan's like, "I don't know. After maybe 30 or 40 years of therapy, probably not."
Yeah, they always, it seems like they try to either end it on kind of like a stinger or a funny note of some sort. But they all kind of come off as kind of comedic anyway. I guess after the scary stuff, they just want to hit you with something that's like, aha, it was just a show.
like a lot of their ways to find some of these antiques are just reading stuff in the paper, like what just happened, like because that's how they sort of set it up in this episode. They're like, oh well, this doll was sold, this toy, this whatever, yeah, whatever sold, like this piece of furniture was sold on the 13th, and on the 15th, this guy who bought it died tragically, and all his limbs got cut off, kind of situation. And that's another thing for the show. And when it was made, there's some gory shit going on in this. There's beheadings and there's blood and there's, like I said, there's endangerment to old people and children, and it's a pretty bloody show when it comes down to it.
And probably that was because it wasn't on prime time, that it was on later. And I remember when that started coming on, uh, which it starts with like the doorknob, whatever, and it's like it goes into the antique shop and stuff like that. And I when that music started up and it starts moving through things and showing the people that are in the show and stuff, I was
Mm-hmm.
like, "Oh, Friday the 13th, the series is on." This is a show that me and my mom used to watch together, because she liked it too. I don't know if she would like it so much now. She's probably forgot
Yeah.
a lot of the episodes, but I remember watching it when I was a kid. So there's that nostalgia thing again, that I have for a lot of these shows that I had for Tales from the Dark Side, a little bit for Monsters, this show, um, just all Twilight Zone from the 80s, all of that kind of stuff. I
Mm-hmm.
have extreme nostalgia for, which probably is what the big thing that keeps me coming back to it. But also,
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to say about this show that I think this is one of the creepier episodes, um, because as Blissful says, all dolls are creepy, and I would have to agree with that.
This Bell's voice and the hi, I want to be your friend. Let's kill your mother. Like,
Yeah.
okay, this is Talkie. It's like evil. Talkie Tina was evil. This is
Oh yeah,
Talkie Tina's evil sister.
yeah,
Older.
and the way that the doll's mouth moves and stuff is like a lot of other, like Dolly Dearest or the movie Dolls.
Yeah.
They were all, their features were, some of them were made better than others. And of course, this was TV and those were movies, but
Yeah.
there was still something similar to the way their mouths and eyes and things like that moved.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I really liked this episode. I liked the way they introduced Ryan and Mickey and Jack
Yeah.
and all of that. Um, and some people might think it's kind of silly how quickly that Ryan and Mickey and Jack all bond, because they're basically
I did think
sisters.
that. I was like, because the second episode, it's like they've already been together for months, and it seems like, but it's like probably a couple of days later, and that kind of was like, but like in this episode, yeah, I,
But I like it at the same time. I can see how
yeah,
it can seem pretty unrealistic that real people wouldn't do this.
yeah.
But I also realize that in a television series, you have to have these people make some kind of connection quicker. And so I think too, because, we talked about some things kind of being kind of lame, and we're going to talk about a really lame effect. But I don't think I noticed this. I didn't notice this stuff when I watched these the first time around. Probably because I was a kid and this was a horror anthology show, and I was really, into those types of things at that point in time. And so I don't think I noticed that, these effects were kind of lame here.
See, I did notice they were bad when I was a kid, but that's when I was less jaded about the world, and
you.
that's the thing when you're a kid. At least back, I'm not gonna say how far back, but back when I was younger, um, every kids weren't as savvy about things as they are now, and it's just like I think a lot of kids are too grown up for their ages a lot of the time,
Yeah,
and they can't enjoy stuff. Um, like you'll see a lot of young YouTubers, and they're like very like
exactly.
they don't like anything unless it's a very specific thing, and it's like you and like they have no imagination, and it's like as a kid when I was a kid, I could put stuff that looked cheesy aside for the overall effect is what I went for, which is what got to me. Years later, like I said, watching the episodes, I was like, oh, that's terrible. Oh.
But we enjoyed it, like, and I did enjoy going back and watching these episodes too, as I have all of these series that we've done. Um, but when you were talking about that, about young people now being, they're jaded. Sorry, it's just it's just how it is, and they would be unable to appreciate the things that we found awesome when we were younger. Um, and I used to work with a girl, my first library job. I used to work with a girl she was in my brother's grade, so she was 6 years younger than me. And she told me one time, she said, I refuse to watch any movies that are older than like 1990 or something like that. Yeah, it's
I would have said that to, oh, friend, look at this. Okay.
like, and I was like, Casey, really? You won't. She said, yeah. She said, all that stuff is like, basically, she told me that stuff is crap.
Yeah.
Anything older than 1990 or so was crap.
Like someone says, I won't watch a black and white movie. I'm like,
Yeah.
why not?
Yeah, I've heard people say that too, and I'm just like you. Why not? Why do you got to make this bold? Like it's almost like they're making some kind of bold statement.
Yeah.
Saying I'm not. Oh, you won't catch me watching a black and white movie, or you're not gonna catch me watching something from the '80s. That's why I like old Curly Jaws a lot better than I do a lot of younger people, because at least old Curly Jaws will be willing to try something,
Yeah.
and then he still might come back and say that was lousy, but or that sucked or whatever.
Right.
But some people are just unwilling. It's like, nope, not gonna do it, not gonna try it
Yeah.
at
Exactly.
all. So we ready to move on to the next one, TJ, or you got anything else to add about this first episode?
No, I think we covered. Yeah, just the overview of it was to introduce the characters, and there was just enough of the story about the antique part to show you what the show will be about going ahead.
Right.
Um, it, there's a little less as about we learn more about the three friends, but they're not like it. They're better interwoven with the stories as they go along. Yeah. And by the way, this is not the last of like I said, not the last of Uncle Lewis. It's also not the last of the fiance. But we haven't gotten to that yet. We're not talking about him right now. So, and I like how the episode, like you're talking, it ends on like on a freeze frame, and it's like they're talking about, it's gonna be a bitch to get all these antiques and to find everything, and then it ends with Jack going, "Oh my god!" and both of them look.
Yeah,
it's a freeze frame, and then whatever happens in the next episode.
Yeah.
So
you had to wait for the next episode before the advent of stuff like this. So
yeah. You have to wait a week. It wasn't back when everything was released in one whole chunk of.
Yeah, you couldn't binge watch back then. So
Which is another thing. Younger people who got used to that during COVID and stuff are now like, "Why do you have to wait a week?" Because that's how TV used to be. You impatient.
yeah.
Anyway.
So let's see. Blissful says, I love the 80s, but I'm drawn to 1975 clothing designs. Oh, well, like 60s and 70s stuff, certain things, I'm
Mhm.
drawn to those. And a Super Batman nerd says, I'm a sucker for the 80s, even though I was born in 91. Well, bless your heart, Super Batman nerd. You don't hear that a lot um, from younger people. Um, definitely don't. Hey, Chris. Chris C's in the house. He's Chris C, the slasher dude tonight.
Sup, yo?
Uh, so, moving on to the
Ugh.
poison pen episode. Okay, we're gonna get to
Boring episodes. Boring. Um,
yeah. This one was, where the inheritance episode didn't seem like it was 45 minutes. I felt every single minute of the
ah,
poison pen.
drag.
Yeah, this I think it was just like the monastery element and all that. It was just it did seem to drag, and I wish that I had been smart and fast forwarded through this episode instead of the Halloween episode, because this one is, if you want to talk about weak episodes, at least in this first
It's
season.
the second episode. I was like, ooh, they should have saved this for later.
Yeah. Yeah, they should have, like, way later, but
But
anyway.
the thing is, it's a good idea. It's a good story concept. The acting isn't what the issue is. It's just I'll get to it, but it's a lot of Ryan and Mickey walking around corridors, with nothing happening
Yeah.
in between things happening, but don't happen often enough in this episode.
Yeah. So, I'm gonna turn this over to TJ to talk about a few things, and, then, we're gonna get to the part that's the really lame special effects part here in just a bit. So, take it away, TJ, and I'm gonna step away and grab me some chocolate while TJ's starting to talk about this.
So it's the story of the poison pen, um, where it's we hear about this monastery where this um, death happens. Um, Obviously, there's a cursed object, which is the cause of it. So there's not much of a mystery in this one. Um, so they find out, okay, there's this pen, and this guy had it at a certain point, and now there's this other guy who's using this pen to sort of write predictions about events in the future. Like it's a prophecy pen, let's call it that. So Mickey and Ryan have to go undercover in a monastery that only has men, which means Mickey has to bind herself.
Yeah, she has to tape her boobs up.
I mean, that is what I said. But and that's another thing too. Ryan binds her, but when she puts on her outfit, you can still see where her chest is. It's like he did a terrible job. I guess this was before like drag queens could do that kind of stuff. Anyway, and I don't know. I mean, I don't want to talk about Mickey's body, but I don't know how much she had to that she could have, pressed things down a little bit better. But yeah, because when she's wearing her like robe with her, that's another thing too. She has the robe with the hood. She's
Hmm.
wearing no makeup. Okay, and her hair's tied back so you can't see that she has long hair. But like I said, the binding of her, you can still see there's a chest there. Also, she still has her long fingernails because she wasn't going to cut her fingernails.
Hmm.
So there's a lot of her holding her hands like this, or there's like fabric covering her hands with the robe or whatever. But there's one point where she's just like this, and I'm like, you're not hiding. Also, she's
I wanted to ask you this, TJ. Was I looking at it wrong, or did she have a blemish through this whole episode on her chin?
I didn't notice.
Okay, maybe it was just
Maybe because she had no makeup on that. anything that she had, Mako was supposed to, I guess, cover up, stuff like that. But I didn't really notice.
Okay. Maybe it was just me.
So I'm gonna have to go back to the episode and like fine tooth comb it with my eyes.
My eyes just kept being drawn to it. And maybe it was a freckle because she is a redhead.
Yeah.
And normally she would have it covered up with makeup.
But yeah, so anyway, people start in the monastery start dying. So it's like a Final Destination type of thing meets like, I don't know, because this isn't the first, I don't think, possessed thing that like you write it you use. Oh, and actually, I'm thinking there's a show Once Upon a Time where there's a character called the Author where he writes things down and they happen. But I think I've seen that in other things before. But I like that concept of it. That's not the bad part of this episode. And like I said, it's not. It's kind of funny seeing Mickey and Ryan try to pretend that they're brothers from another monastery, and so Mickey can hide her voice. She has taken her brother character has taken a vow of silence, so she has to talk. Meanwhile, she's yelling and screaming about stuff in the middle of the monastery when she's supposed to be silent. And it's like, there's a scene where they're like out in the open where the other monks are walking around, doing monk shit, and she's just like, Ryan, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, Mickey, shut up. You're on the cover. You're not supposed to be talking. And people, like, the monks are staring at them. Like, they know something's going on, but they're supposed to not pay attention to it. Whatever. But yeah, so, there's some cool stuff. Like, there's supposedly a monk who is doing the writing, and he's in seclusion. And Mickey and Ryan are trying to talk to him to find out what's going on. They want to tell him about you have this cursed pen and we need it back because maybe the guy doesn't realize what he's doing. But after what I said about the first episode about how there are people who are sort of bad people who get these items and they're already bad to begin with. So one of the brothers, he's like he's a bird. He likes birds, so he's up on the roof, and as you hear the guy's in his creepy voice, he's doing the voiceover of what he's writing down that ends up coming true, and he's like, it sounds poetic. I can't remember stuff because I didn't really pay attention to, like, I didn't memorize the dialogue because I'm not being paid to act in this episode, so I don't have to worry about that. Right. But it's very like poetic type of writing and stuff like that, and it's like he loved birds and he wanted to fly like one of them, and now he will, but realizing that he can't fly. And it's sort of Bugs Bunny, like Looney Tunes, where the coyote runs off the cliff and he's like just hanging in midair, and then the roadrunner tells him with the sign, "You're not supposed to be floating," and he falls. It's that kind of thing, but it's not funny. I'm making it sound funnier than it is. And that's like one of the better effects of him sort of floating in the air, because it's sort of like it's more forced perspective than like trying to do like, a matte painting type of situation. Or like what they did with the original Superman with Christopher Reeve, or the original Superman from the 50s, where they laid him on a table and they colored it out, and then they I don't think they had blue screen back then, but whatever versions of blue screen they had to do that. But yeah, then there's another. So the abbot is killed in the prophecy, and this other guy's like, "Oh, we have to warn everybody because the guy just did another prophecy that the next abbot will die," and he's like, and he's talking to Ryan, and Ryan like, "The abbot just died, so that means he was wrong about his prediction." And the guy's like, "Oh, okay, cool." So the guy's in bed, and then he's reading this letter, and we find out he's been appointed the new abbot. So guess what? He's next to die.
Yeah.
And he dies in a pretty like. Has anybody seen the movie Murder by Death? It's very Agatha Christie, very like old timey, where it's a canopy bed where the top of the bed slowly comes down and crushes him, and you're like, oh, he can get out. No, the covers are also sort of like they're not tying him, but they're like keeping him from being able to get up out of the bed. So he gets crushed, and he's trying to claw through like the top of the bed thing that's coming down on him. But no, he's crushed and he dies. And Mickey and Ryan is like, well, shit, what are we supposed to do here? And we find out pretty early in maybe, I don't know, the episode's sort of, but anyway, there's a lot of Mickey and Ryan walking through corridors, trying to talk to people, trying to find things. It's too much for this episode that it's making the episode intolerable at moments. And I'm like, can we just get on with finding out who the bad guy is, which we find out eventually. And things start getting better, but it's that point up until then, which is just like, enough. Can this episode be over already?
Yep. That's exactly how I felt too. So
we find out this one dude is undercover and he's trying to, I forget, it's some convoluted, they're trying to sell the monastery because it's like an old ancient monastery and they're trying to sell it and trying to make some money off of it. Mm-hmm. And this brother, he's in cahoots with this other dude.
Yeah.
Played by the mayor from My Bloody Valentine.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, the guy was like, we can't do this anymore. I don't want to get caught. I'm out of this, and he ends up getting killed. That's the mayor from My Bloody Valentine.
Well, that would make sense because
it's a Canadian production.
Is Canadian, yeah.
Yeah.
Speaking of My Bloody Valentine, Steve told me that the 4K is going to be coming out.
Oh, I can't wait to see that with the scenes and everything put back in and fixed and everything. That's what I'm going to buy that one. A friend of mine has the newest Blu-ray, and I never bought it because I borrowed his. So I'll just skip ahead to the 4K now.
There you go.
So yeah, it's so the two brothers. The other one's played by Colin Fox, who he was in Tommy Boy and Daylight. He's in a lot of movies. A lot of these people are actually been in a lot of things. It's not like there's a few actors here and there who like did one or two things, but it's not like Tales from the Dark Side where it's like you read these IMDb's and they have like 2 credits or they did like
yeah.
So yeah, I was also in an episode of the Dead Zone TV series. Anthony Michael Holland. Anyway, so anyway, they're like, oh, people are gonna find out what we're doing, and like, nope. This guy thinks he's gonna get away, but no. The guy writes that he basically decapitates himself, which that was pretty good. That was a good scene. That was like an intense.
Yeah, that one was.
Where he's basically being forced by these malevolent powers to tie himself down and then set up the guillotine and then to put his head back and then to reach up and to pull it. It's like, it's very methodical, but it's like, it works really well.
It is very tense, that scene. Yeah.
And then we get to the big showdown with the main bad guy. And that's where the terrible CGI thing is. So I forgot the part where so he doesn't realize that Mickey and Ryan are undercover. So he writes in the book, brother so-and-so and brother so-and-so will die by a horrible end. But because they're undercover, the book will only affect the real people it's written about. But the bad thing is they don't make up fake names. They use other names of these other brothers from this other monastery, and we find out that those 2 brothers did die horribly. So no one got away in this episode, really, except for Mickey and Ryan. Spoiler. I mean, they're the stars of the show. I mean, I'm not spoiling it too much. I mean,
and Jack, who shows up.
Jack shows up as another brother undercover because he realizes that they're sort of maybe in over their head. So he's there to sort of try to rescue them for whatever may be going on. and he decides to be Irish, which I'm like, okay.
Exactly.
He's already British, so it's okay. I guess it's not as bad as if he was like just putting on a really. I mean, it's not a great accent, but it's still better than if he was like some American really doing a horrible job of trying to do. Like if I was trying to do Faith of Megara, me leprechauns, yeah, I would have been spotted really, really fast.
I
Anyway,
would have been worse than that if I tried to do it.
so yeah, so there's the big showdown with the pen is muddier than the sword. I think that's a line too in the episode at some point. If it's not, it should have been.
That sounds right.
So I forget the exact thing that he does. He writes down this will happen, and he doesn't realize he's writing it about him because he had already. That's right. He already signed it with his name. So he's now the one that's being attacked because he had signed his name, even though he's not writing about himself. It was signed by him about him. Basically, is what if that makes any sense what I just said.
It makes sense to me, but I just watched some of these episodes. So.
Okay, well then you're no help.
I'm not objective enough.
So basically, yeah, he gets attacked by the guillotine. Which why does a monastery have a guillotine? I don't even get that. I guess because it's an ancient monastery and they had those back then.
I don't know. That's a good question. Why is it there?
Yeah. But anyway, then we get well. You can explain what happens with the effects with the guillotine. So the guillotine attacks him, and
yeah, this is very. I hate to say it, but it's lame effects work here because there's better effects in this series than this. It almost looked like, you know how some of that early 3D stuff looked. Like cartoonish.
Yeah.
This is what this looked like. It sort of reminded me of that movie Silent Madness, which originally had 3D in it. The part I'm thinking of when
I have that movie, I have to watch it in 3D soon. I gotta.
Oh yeah, it's fun in 3D, but if you're not watching it in 3D, the part where he throws that hammer or whatever and it goes into the girl, when it's flying through the air, it looks exactly like this guillotine blade.
Yeah,
it's the same kind of thing, and I'm like, and it's just
sledgehammer bad. The effects are sledgehammer bad.
Exactly. So it comes loose from the actual guillotine, and you got this blade flying around this guy's head and stuff like that. And I'm like,
so bad.
I don't know. I think I would have tried to go a different route, I think. But yeah, that's the one big lame effect that I've come across so
it's
far.
Like they put in a temporary effect, and they're like, "Yeah, we're not going to spend any money trying to fix it. It looks fine."
Yeah, nobody will notice. This is fine.
No, we did though.
Yep.
Oh, by the way, so one of the other monks finds out Mickey is not a man because he has been watching him in the shower, and there's a peephole, which is very Porky's. The scene from Porky's with the peephole.
Right.
That's what it reminded me of. It's sort of Norman Bates from Psycho, but it's more the shower scene from.
Well, here's a question I have. Like, was this just a natural peephole, or who the hell made this peephole when it's supposed to be all men?
Yeah, I mean, I don't,
we have to ask these questions sometimes.
Like, here's a shot of it.
Yeah, exactly.
That's it, looking into the peephole, looking at her taking a shower. And he's like, I found out something about brother, whatever her name is. And it was very, just one of the guys. I think there's a point that Mickey says, like, something that, like, I was like, oh, that reminded me of just one of the guys, the way she said that. She didn't think about that.
I don't know about anybody else, but when TJ just showed that picture, that looks very man-made. That looks like a man-made peephole right there.
It was drilled into the... One of those old drills that you cranked it to drill a hole through the.
Blissful asks, has there ever been a death by boomerang? I'm sitting here trying to.
Yes, I can't remember what movie it was, but yes, there is one, and it's a bad movie too.
Blissful also says, "What happens in the monastery stays in the monastery."
Well, if anybody watches The Sopranos, there's the episode where they found out one of the guys was gay, and they had to kill him because you can't have a gay guy in the mob, and he's talking to his psychiatrist, Dr. Malfi, and she's like, "What about prison?" And he goes, "Well, in prison there's a thing where it's okay in prison." Like, is it?
Is it really?
You can have your gumad that you have an affair with on the side and cheat on your wife, but in prison, it's fine. Okay, whatever. Anyway,
make up your own rules, dude. That's.
I mean, yeah. Anyway, yeah. So we found out, and he gets his head. He dies. Everybody gets. He gets his head cut off, and they get the pen back, and yeah. I mean, it's kind of a. Like I said, the concept was a good idea, and the acting wasn't bad at all, and a lot of it worked. Like when you got to the end, and the last third, I think that was the best part of it all. But yeah, and the bad CGI and whatever you call it, the bad visual effects. That's what you're just calling it. Yeah, so that was the Poison Pen. Anything else you want to talk about it? I'm done.
I don't think I can really add anything to it. I did want to talk about the lame special effect towards the end, which I already did. But definitely not one of my favorite episodes. This is just too weak of an episode. And I'm like TJ, I don't know why they would have put this as the second episode. Because it is so weak. I mean, really, it's a weak story. The whole thing is just like rice paper thin, pretty much.
Yeah. And we were saying how they quickly became close in the first episode. They're already like trusting each other a lot in this second episode, and like Mickey's still skeptical and stuff like that, and they're still kind of going undercover and these cursed objects. It's dangerous too. I mean,
I think in real life, I would. It would take me a long while to trust Ryan. Maybe Jack, I would trust.
Well, because they're cousins, I think it works better. Because Jack is the outsider, they're too. Right. They get too trusting of Jack too early, I think. Especially since we don't really know a lot about Uncle Lewis yet. We only know what we've seen and what Jack has said. And what do we know that Jack is? How do we trust Jack? But they're the three main characters, so as an audience, we're trusting them. But as the characters, I don't know why they're so fast to be trusting.
Maybe because they're out of their element. Like Mickey and Ryan came from out of town, and they just.
So did Jack.
He did too, but I guess
he's a retired traveler. He's basically Indiana Jones, but he's not treading on the students.
But maybe because they were all strangers in a strange land, so to speak, maybe that's why they bonded like that. Or maybe I'm just reading way too much into it. I don't know. So don't have anything else to say about the Poison Pen, which brings us to the third episode, which is the Cupid's Quiver. Now, I like this episode really, really well. We'll see what TJ thinks about it here.
It's better than the second episode. Not as good as the first episode.
Right, yeah. None of these are going to be as good as the first episode, except maybe the Halloween episode, possibly.
Yeah.
But...
And in this one, we don't have a creepy doll, but we have Dennis Forrest in this. And he's very creepy. If people so he's been in Storm of the Century. He was in Storm of the Century. He was Kirk in Storm of the Century. He was in The Mask.
Yeah.
Cliffhanger is, not one of the. Not one
But
of you guys.
have some characters that, as TJ was saying a little bit earlier about these characters that have the cursed objects, they're not good people to begin with,
Yeah.
obviously. But like in this episode, the bad people are like, to me, serial killer level evil. And I think that added a little extra layer uh,
Yeah.
of, that creepy aspect, the frightening aspect. But I'm going to let TJ take it away with talking about the Cupid's quiver.
Yep. So it's this. We'll start off with this guy is in a bar and he's sort of into this girl. He's too creepy for girls to be into him, and he's sort of like the dude from um, Don't Go in the House.
Yeah, yeah.
Like he's trying to come on to the girl, and he's trying to be cool, but he's just creepy. He's coming off as creepy. She's also with a boyfriend. Also, this is a college episode, so this is sort of like a college bar on the campus. So it's a lot of college kids and stuff. Which is Eddie is the main dude in this, played by Dennis Forrest, he was in a couple episodes. He was a recurring character in X-Files a couple of times. But Canada, obviously.
Right.
But we don't start off with Eddie. We start off with this other guy, and he uses this. He brings this statue into this bar, and he puts it on the bar, and he takes off the shroud that's over it. I'm like, who does that? And who goes, yeah, just leave that on the bar and doesn't pay any attention to it?
Yeah, why does nobody ask any questions about it? That's what I wondered.
Yep. So I've seen a lot of bar rescue episodes where I could see them ignoring it, like they have animals running through and shitting on the floor, and people ignore it. So I mean, so I can see this happen. But anyway, it's just weird watching it because it makes no sense. But anyway, so it's this Cupid, and it's really this ugly face with this weird mouth and everything. But it's the cursed object of the day, and it uses its arrow to pierce this girl in the arm, and she immediately falls in love with this weird dude and goes off with him, and he basically tries to strangle her. Some of these college dudes rush in, say I don't know how they're happen to be right there outside the door.
I don't understand that, and I don't think it was really explained. Other than I think there might be one little snippet in the show where they say that these boys were these, I guess, fraternity guys were in the bar where the girl was, and they saw her leave with this guy, and
so they stalked her. I mean,
that's what it sounds like.
There's a lot of stalking in this episode. But yeah, I mean, so anyway, one of the frat dudes ends up taking the statue for plot.
Yeah, plot.
Pretty much. Mickey and Ryan find out what happened, and they're like, "Oh, where is it now?" And they find out through the guy who works at the hotel that they're these frat dudes. They came in, they heard what was going on. I guess the girl didn't die. I guess she didn't get strangled to death. I think they got.
I guess that's what we were supposed to think, because why else would the guys kind of bust in and say, kind of throw this guy off of her or whatever, and
yeah. I mean, the rule is if we don't see a dead body, they didn't die. So I mean,
yeah, if you don't see a dead body, then it didn't happen.
So, and I don't think, like I said, I don't think they said she died. So anyway, yeah. So Mickey and Ryan start scullying and moldering, and they go to the hotel, and then they find out the frat dudes, and they're like, "Oh, how do we find these guys?" Oh, they all the frat dudes have shirts that have the symbol of their fraternity on them. I guess they do that. I mean, I know there are like Letterman, the letters of the fraternity are on like their jackets and stuff like that, but I didn't know they had a design. And their design is a heart with an arrow through it because this episode is about Cupid.
I don't know. Maybe colleges in Canada are different, but I didn't think that colleges did that either. Fraternities.
Yeah. So we find out what's going on. The Mickey and Ryan are pretending that. I think that first they pretend that they're. Is this the one where they're cops, or they pretend they're students? I can't remember.
I think they pretend they're students.
Oh, because one of the head of the fraternity thinks they're cops. Doesn't he think they're cops? The sort of.
He may.
The one who's like sort of the rich, the one that seems like he's rich and like
Yeah,
rich stuck up one,
Yeah, the guy that like I don't know. He acts like he ought to be in some kind of fancy schmancy commercial for advertising some kind of wine or something.
Yeah, he should be talking like, I went off with Muffy and Buffy, and we went to we went on our yacht, and we went, one of those voices.
Yeah, he's one of those guys.
Yeah. Yeah, and they're like, can we look? We want our statue back. They just say it. We want our statue back. Can we look through? And he's like, how would you think what would you think if you were in a fraternity and you let strangers just rumble through your room and touch your belongings or whatever? I can't have you do that. So he nicely says, get the hell out of here. But then at one point, one of the frat dudes says to Mickey, oh, you should come to our party later. So they sort of have an invite. So they actually have a reason to come back later and not get thrown out. But they have an extra plan. They have Jack pretend to be a bartender that gets hired at. I guess I don't know whether they were looking for a bartender or he just said, "Hey, I'm a bartender. Can I work at your party?" I don't know. It was one of those.
I'm not really sure, but he comes up with that truth serum that he puts in.
Sodium pentothal. Yeah, he puts that in the drinks to find out who's lying and who's telling the truth. Meanwhile, we have the dude Eddie who is attracted to Lori. Was it Lori?
It may be. I was sitting here trying, and I just watched that episode not very long ago, and so I don't know why I can't remember her name.
And Lori looks familiar. I gotta look her up. Let's see. Okay. Carolyn Dunn.
She did look familiar.
She kind of looks like Amy from Fright Night. She's got sort of the hair is sort of like hers a little bit. Yeah, she's in stuff, but I don't remember.
The first girl in the bar that one guy picks up and takes to the hotel or whatever, she looks familiar too.
Well, that was Bar Girl. That's her name in the She was an okay. Oh, she's just a random character in Adventures in Babysitting.
No, okay.
She's like a hooker, one of the in the bar. She was in the remake of Alfred Hitchcock Presents. She was in Adventures in Babysitting. She was in the Amy Fisher story, one of the Amy Fisher stories. There were too many of those. They made like one. They made one with
Drew Barrymore played
Barrymore. They made one with what's her face? Alyssa Milano. Yeah. And they did a third one too. I'm like, they did way too many of those. Yeah. Anyway. Yeah. Okay. We'll say it's Lori, and if I'm wrong, sue me. Anyway, so Eddie is stalking Lori, basically. Mm-hmm. There's a part where he's in his room. He seems like he's Freddy in the boiler room. Like I don't think is it a bedroom or is it just like some room off in the corner or something like that?
Well, like, does he does he stay in the basement of this place
That's
or
it. Because he doesn't go to the fraternity, but he cleans up for the fraternity. I guess he sleeps in the basement. Yeah, that's
yeah,
right.
I think
Because
so.
the snobby guy's like, yeah, we let you sleep here, we let you work here, but you're not a member of the fraternity. I'm like,
Exactly.
he practically is. He's the house mother of the fraternity.
The
So,
weird house mother.
yeah. So he's like cutting up her photo out of her head out of these photos and like sticking it on the wall, like very serial killer. He's a creepy guy. If he wasn't psychotic to be at the end of the episode, he was close to it by this episode.
Oh,
Um,
definitely.
and it's not like he needed help; like he knew what he was doing. So that's why I was saying that there were characters who were there. You know, these are fictional characters. It's not like I'm talking about real people. So when I say these people, they kind of deserve what they get. They deserve what they get.
This guy was a really unsavory
Yeah,
character. You take one look at him, you're like serial killer.
yeah. It's sad too because that's how the actor looks. It's sorry you look this way.
Yes.
That's like the dude in Slumber Party Massacre 3 who they see on the beach
Yeah.
with the weird. Who's also he's in what is he in? Wes Craven's he's one of the people under the stairs.
Oh, okay. That's right.
He's like German or something like that, but
Yeah.
he's the one with the ponytail and the long hair. The one with the long hair and the
He's pretty much the red herring in the Summer Party Massacre 3.
yeah. His name should have been Red Herring, is what it should. It's Red Herring. No, I didn't do it, Jones. That's it. The pup named Scooby Doo. You ever watch that?
Yeah.
Um. So yeah. So creepy Eddie is using the Cupid to make Lori fall in love with him, and he does it at a certain point. He does do that, but of course Ryan and Mickey and Jack spoil his
Yeah. They spoil his plan.
his nefarious plans, and yeah, I mean, as I watch the episode, I mean, there's a lot going on, and I think it's like we were saying, there's a lot of creepy moments, and there's a lot of, I mean, the statue alone is creepy, and it the effect on it when it smiles isn't great, but it works.
Yeah, it's grotesque.
Yeah,
Is what it works.
the Cupid statue is based on a real person who was or is a myth or whatever. It's based on this guy who's ugly, and he was cursed or whatever, and I guess sort of the statue is sort of possessed and cursed at the same time. So so they have to save Lori from being murdered from Eddie, and they bring her to Curious Goods, which is, I forgot that is not the name of the
Yeah, I don't think that was the original name of it because
no, I think it was Lewis's something or other. Like it was his name was part of it, and they changed it to Curious Goods. There's a book called Curious Goods: The Making of Friday the 13th, the series, which I haven't gotten yet, but I'm buying it. So
oh, cool.
after I read it, we'll be talking about the show for a little while. So I mean,
Right.
but anyway, they bring Lori to their place, and they're like, "Oh, we'll keep you here. You're safe." And she's like, "Oh, thanks. I'm glad you guys are here and whatever." But we find out that no, she's possessed by Eddie's Cupid, and she sneaks out and goes to him. But they figure out what's going on, and they save her, and Eddie dies, and it's very bloody the way Eddie dies.
Yeah.
And yeah.
And actually, Mickey dresses like Lori.
Oh, that's right. She goes undercover as she
And
puts
then
on this
he ends up
curly
like
wig and
he ends up like getting her to fall in love with him for a short time too, as well.
That's right. Lori doesn't sneak out. They catch her. We think she snuck out.
Right.
Is what I meant. And then we find out I forgot about that. We find out that it's Mickey in a costume, and it sort of reminded me of um, uh, Tenebrae, where the cop goes on the cover
Yep.
as Daria Nicolodi, and it's not her. It's like, oh, I'm sorry, I just spoiled it.
But that was a bad idea, and
that was a bad idea. Yeah. I didn't spoil who the killer was, but I did spoil what happens. But anyway, if you're watching the show, you've probably heard about who the killer is in Tenebrae.
I would hope so.
This show, as in your show, as in your.
Yeah, I would hope so, because I know I've talked about Tenebrae more than once.
Yeah. Darren would know, at least.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, I guess the ultimate question is, TJ, did you like the episode? Did you like it as well as I did? Because this is one of my favorites.
I had a couple of things wrong with it. Like, there was a security guard who was just letting everybody get away with shit, and I'm like, what? He believes Eddie twice. He believes Eddie twice, and he just was like, so they're trying to find the Cupid, and they actually get it, and the security guard finds him, and they're like, I found out that the fraternity lost their thing, and they're like, no, we actually own this, and he's like, well, I'll bring it to the office, and I'll put it, I'll leave it in the security or whatever, and then in the morning we'll figure out what's going on. But no, he meets Eddie, and Eddie goes, oh, there's my statue, and he's like, oh, here he goes.
Yeah, no, that is that is got to be the dumbest campus security.
He does it twice. He does something like that twice in this episode. The same guy, and I'm like, Abbott and Costello? Is this the
when he catches Eddie like hiding in the bushes taking pictures of Lori?
That's
that's the first time he lets him get away with it.
He just lets him get away with it, and then he's creepy again. And I'm sure that wasn't the only two times in the life of this story that Eddie.
And all he asks him the second time is, are you sure this is your guy's statue for the fraternity? Yeah. And he says, yeah, and he just hands it over. It's like, how stupid can you be, dude?
Yeah. That annoyed me in the movie, in this episode.
Yeah, in hindsight, I would say, yeah, I don't really get that. But the overall story, the thing with the statue, I mean, I didn't really understand the first guy coming in there. I'm like, TJ, I don't understand how he was able to bring this bag with this statue in it, and he just casually takes it out of the bag and sets it on the bar. Yeah. Nobody says, what the hell is that thing or anything. They just ignore it pretty much.
Plot. It's in the script. That's why it's in the episode.
Yeah, it's in the script, so you have to, everybody else has to ignore this thing that's sitting on the bar. But overall, I liked the episode. Had some creepy moments. Definitely had some creepy ass characters in it. The second guy was quite a bit creepier than the first guy.
Yeah, we didn't get enough of the first guy to really see.
Yeah, that was kind of quick and dirty. He's here and then he's not. And,
there's some fun stuff in the fraternity at the party with Jack. There's one point Jack's like, I gotta leave, and they're like, I'll take it off your bill. And he's like, you can't leave. Like, okay, fine. I'm going to deduct you. And I'm like, yeah, he already told you he was going to take off for the bill. Okay, dude.
One funny part was when, everybody all these guys were drinking the truth serum stuff. And that one guy was like, you could tell he was born Jack, the real hoity-toity guy, the one that you said was like, would be talking about going out with Buffy on the yacht and all that.
Mr. Howell's son.
He's telling his whole life story to Jack, and you could tell that he's like, oh God, please shut up. but I always thought that part was funny. But yeah, pretty decent episode with a couple of quirks in there.
Hmm.
Um, just campus security, I don't know, was lousy in this particular episode.
As Charlie Garrison said, security's no good.
Yeah, yeah, campus security's no good. Yeah, and I remember that really clearly because I just watched the 4K of Creep shows.
Yeah, I was gonna get that, but I don't know. I don't want to. I gotta hold back on buying shit right now. But
Oh my
I,
gosh,
I wanted to get the whole package with the pins that no one who want pins nowadays. I actually already have pins that look like that, so I don't even need those ones. But
oh, there you go.
I do like the posters; those were kind of cool. So I was like, should I get one of the? Should I just get the basic package, or should I go upgrade a little bit? Like I'm sure Garrett would get the posters because I know Garrett loves posters. So I mean, I meant
Yeah,
that as a nice thing. I didn't mean to say, oh, Garrett gets posters. I mean, no, he likes posters. So
yeah, yeah. Oh no, I get it. Well, I kind of, in hindsight, and yes, I was one of the dummies that spent $55 on the Nightmares in a Damaged Brain. I
oh
did.
yeah,
Uh, but I'm kind of like Steve now. Steve said I should have just paid the extra $20 uh, and got, that complete package. I was like, yeah, I don't know why, why didn't I do that? But anyway,
yeah.
too late now, you know, but I am getting the $55 jobby. So I also bought that Terror at 10 Killer 4K. I pre-ordered it. So everybody can feel free to laugh at me hysterically now.
I mean, I bought the four flies and I still haven't opened it. I was like, maybe it'll jack up in price soon because I know when they did their the Dead Pit and Garrett did the whole the sale and Severance sale and whatever, and I was like, maybe I should not open that because I have that like a DVD of the movie, so it's not like I don't have it and like I don't really need. I'm not going to display any of the like the lobby cards and whatever is in the package, and I was like, I don't really need to open it. So, but they're like, oh, it's out of print. Like, maybe if they don't ever they never do another version of it, maybe I can sell that in 6 months for like a couple $100. I wouldn't mind doing that, and then I can buy some other shit.
Yep. Okay. So
All right.
moving along to the fourth episode, which is A Cup of Time. Now this, okay, I'll say the premise behind this story to me is a very familiar premise. It's it's been done in, I believe, a Tales from the Crypt episode. I know there's at least one or two other shows that have had this basic premise in it of, people have in, even still today, people are afraid of getting old. They don't want to get old. There's, and I don't think old people are ugly, but there's a stigma attached to getting old. Excuse me.
Yeah.
Where people think, it becomes an obsession. And I think it's been that way for years and years. People are always looking for the proverbial fountain of youth. So this is a very, very common theme
Mm-hmm.
that has definitely taken root in a lot of horror anthologies.
Tale as old as time.
Yep.
Beauty and when you don't have it anymore.
When you
That's the
just
song.
lose everything.
I was
Uh,
just, I was just watching like an old movie and thinking of how the other day I was watching this old movie. I watched it was a Joan Crawford movie. Except for Baby Jane, I'd never seen a single Joan Crawford movie.
oh, really?
Um, I don't know if that's surprising because of any other reason, but just the fact that I've seen a lot of movies and I haven't seen any Joan Crawford movies. But I was just looking at her, I was like, wow, she was attractive, but then, yeah, when she got old, like, she looked very odd. Let's say that.
Well, I mean, I've heard so much bad stuff, like behind the scenes stuff about her, that
Yeah.
I just can't find her attractive because I'm just, it just seems like she was such a wicked woman.
Yeah, but you hate Faye Dunaway. You don't hate with Joan Crawford. Because if you didn't see Joan Crawford do all those things. You saw Faye Dunaway do all those bad things.
Exactly.
So I mean,
but there is other stuff like
yes,
Joan
but
Crawford being like behind the scenes. Her and Betty Davis, they had a long, ongoing.
if you believe Ryan Murphy, because in interviews they never said anything bad. We only know because we've heard stuff from other people what happened with them. So, and that's not to talk about that, but people think women can't get along and they can't be friends or at least be civil to each other, and they have to make up stories about how they had this infighting
and extreme, being extremely competitive, against each other,
yeah,
stuff like that.
and
Yeah,
the two of them, they weren't in the same like. Betty Davis wasn't ugly, but she wasn't a beautiful woman. And Joan Crawford, when she was younger, was more the beauty queen, and Betty Davis was the actor.
yeah,
So, I mean, they were never competing for roles, but until they got older, and there weren't any roles for older people, then they were competing. So I could see you maybe saying that it was hard to fight for a role, but the stories. But then it could be true too. I mean, but if you watch a lot of like biopics and stuff like that, they always embellish what actually happened. I mean, even Tina Turner she was abused by her husband, and all those things happened to her. But a lot of the stuff in that movie didn't happen, and they both said it. So I mean,
yeah. You let Hollywood get a hold of things, and unfortunately that's what happens because they've got to embellish it. Because I think if they didn't embellish it,
It'd be boring.
People wouldn't watch if they didn't embellish it. So anyway, back to
let's go back to this actually
on a tangent. So back to A Cup of Time. So take it away, TJ.
Cup of Time. We start off with this woman hitting on Jack.
Yeah, I think that is so hilarious.
And he doesn't want it at all. He's very into the books and trying to find the artifacts, and so she's sort of like the neighbor lady in the neighborhood where the curious goods are, and it's sort of set up that she's been in there a bunch of times, so they all know who she is, and she's a social worker.
She tries to help homeless people.
Yeah. So I forget. Do they bring up the cup now, or do they bring it up later? I can't remember that part. Even though I just watched it.
Yeah, no. It seems like it was later. Actually.
Yeah. Okay, but we see this. Ryan's into this singer, and he's playing her album very loud, and Mickey comes in. Could we turn this down so we can hear ourselves think here, Ryan? Calm down here. We know you're the young, impetuous guy, and you have to. He's into this band, this singer called Lady Di, which I think is a great name for it.
Exactly.
There's a comedian. Stand-up, and one of her jokes was, I was on the street and someone said Lady Di, and she's like, oh, you think I look like Lady Di? And she goes, and then I realized that's what he was telling me what to do. Oh. Lady Di. So there's this singer Lady Di, played by Hilary Shepard, who she's in one of my favorite. Well, I don't know. All right, let me say favorite. She's in a movie I really like called. I just forgot the name of the movie. Well, she's in 40-Year-Old Virgin, but that's not the movie I'm looking at. Private Resort with Johnny Depp and Hector Elizondo's in that, and Andrew Dice Clay is in it.
I'm pretty sure I've seen it, but it's been a long while.
So anyway, Leslie Easterbrook is in. Anyway, it's a funny movie. You should check it out. Anywho, she's sort of this aging rock star, and the cursed item is a cup that can turn back time, basically. Tom, anyway, turn back time.
Well, actually, we were talking about when the cup shows up.
Yeah.
Actually, the beginning scene does show the cup.
Okay.
Yeah, it does.
Oh, that's right. Because there's a homeless girl. Did that happen before the woman comes into the shop, or is it? I think it was the opening scene, right? Was it?
Yeah, it was the opening.
Okay. I'm gonna start writing down outlines for the next time we do this because I got lost. That's right. The scene opens. It opens with a homeless girl and this woman who we don't see her face. We hear she sounds like an older woman, and she has a teacup and she pours the tea into the cup and she's like, "You need this tea. It's really cold out," and blah blah blah. And it has this sort of like little leaves painted on it, and the leaves come to life and basically strangled the girl to death. And I think these leaves looked better than the jump rope from the first episode. Not much, but better.
A little bit better.
But so easy.
I could still tell that they look like, obviously like fake leaves. They look like the kind of vines that I put in my my iguana's enclosure to decorate it. It sort of reminded me of that.
It reminds me of when the vines attack Cheryl in Evil Dead.
Yeah.
So I wonder if maybe they did some reverse motion stuff, reverse filming on this or not. I gotta look into the effects too. That's why I want to get that book. I don't know if it talks about effects and everything, but I would love to learn more about this series. Anyway,
I'm imagining TJ with a pipe in his mouth saying that.
My pipe and slippers and my Hugh Hefner robe
smoking jacket and
my snifter of Brandy reading the book. I think I'll go to the fraternity and anyway. So that it starts off with that we see the cursed object in use. I think I'm going to try to remember, and I won't be able to. The vines are called something that's because it's explained about the curse on this cup, and the name of the vines is like part of that.
Yeah, daggone.
Turn back time, something to do with turning back time. Wait a minute. I was watching with closed caption and I snapped some pictures, so I might have the dialogue to check. Give me a minute, people. That was Mickey with the bad wig. No, that's not it. Oh, by the way, and the dude actually gets killed by the Cupid. He doesn't just die. He actually gets stabbed. Impaled. Cupid impaled me, bitch. Let's see. The vines of something. Cup of time. Shoot. I don't know.
Gosh, that's going to bother me now.
Yeah, I know. It's bothering me too. That's why we're going to pre-record this. Let's see. Nope, that's not it. Swapper's Ivy. Ha-ha!
Ah, there you go.
So it swaps one thing for the other. So it swaps youth for old. It swaps a person's youth for that person getting killed. So yeah, it's Swapper. Yeah, Swapper's Ivy. There we go. I'm glad I snapshotted.
Yeah, Chris says TJ checking his notes.
I should have did it before the stream, but anyway, this is why the streams go on for 12 hours, is because I have to
I like things to be like as relaxed as possible. We
Yeah.
haven't even got to the 2 hour mark yet. We're 2 minutes shy of 2 hours.
Oh, cool. So yeah, so the swap with Ivy. Yeah, so we obviously, I mean, so we have the aging rock star checking her face for age lines, and she's this point where she's talking to her agent, and she's like, "I gotta do this benefit," and she's like, "And I'm doing it for homeless people."
She keeps turning her face from side to side.
So this episode is not a mystery because you pretty much know who the villain is in this episode.
Yeah, didn't take long to figure that one out.
Yeah.
All.
So anyway, they get the cup back eventually, but it gets stolen again. But it gets stolen by what the hell's her name?
The other
Birdie. The older lady Birdie, who it was hitting on Jack. She steals the. Okay, Bliss, we'll just wait. She steals the cup because she doesn't want to be old anymore, and she's about to kill a guy, and then she stops herself.
Right.
Because she realizes what she's doing is wrong, because she knows what happened because she sees the woman because she knew who she was when she was older. So the woman was older and knew her at some point. So when she sees her at her rock star form, she recognizes her, but she recognizes her as an older woman. So she decides to steal the cup. And first, Ryan and everybody thinks it's just some random guy, but they sort of figure out that it was somebody maybe older because they weren't like that fast or whatever. Which I'm like, okay, Ryan, I think that's a little bit too plotty that you figure that out so easy. Anyway, so yeah, she's gonna kill a homeless guy, but she decides not to. I sort of skimmed a couple of minutes during the episode. Do we get an explanation about her knowing the other woman? Because
I think
I know
somebody she worked with, I think.
Okay. Because she wants to help homeless people, but she's doing it for her to get her youth back. But is it totally for that reason, or is she really trying to? Because she's doing a benefit concert to help homeless people.
Mm-hmm. But I think she's got more selfish motives. I find that hard to believe. She's like doing this purely for the homeless.
Yeah. But she's not overly a villain like the last couple episodes the characters were. So this is where, like I said earlier, like it's questionable on certain times whether they're really evil or just because there's one with a compact that comes up later where I don't think that person was evil, but we're not talking about that episode. But anyway, yeah. So she decides, I'm not gonna kill this person, and she calls the gang, the Scooby gang, and they're like, stay there, we'll come get it. But nope, she sees her friend who's now getting older rapidly. So I guess when you're not using the cup, right, it accelerates your aging. So you don't just go back to what age you were before; it gets you older and stuff. So it's sort of like in Warlock, where she gets the curse from the Warlock and she starts getting older, but every day she gets older and older until she dies. Rest in peace, Julian Sands. Anyway, so yeah, so her friend chases her and gets the cup back, and she's looking. Okay, at first the old age makeup was working for me, but at this point it just looks like caked on.
Yeah, it looks like towards the end of the episode, it looks like those really cheap Halloween masks.
Yeah. It's at some point it's almost as good as the Tales from the Crypt episode with
You talking about the one with Leah Thompson?
Leah Thompson, yeah, it's not, it actually works, but then yeah, when it gets to where she's supposed to be super old, it looks bad. I mean,
Yeah.
um, it looks it reminds me of uh, when they did the Night of the Living Dead and they added the scenes in, and they put extra makeup on Hinsman to make him look younger, but it just made him look like puffy and weird. It just, and I think he looked more like he did in what's the movie where he's a zombie slasher killer? What's that movie?
Oh, shoot. Um, Daggone it.
They pick guys did a whole thing, talked the whole thing about
Yeah, I know. Oh, dang it.
the
Was it Flesh Eater?
Flesh Eater. That's what it was. He looked more like he did in the original in Night of the Living Dead in that movie than the scenes that they put. Why would you make someone? Zombies are supposed to be gaunt, and they're supposed to have indented cheeks and everything like that, but they made him puffier. It made no sense. But anyway, that reissue had a lot other things wrong with it too. But anyway,
I'm glad I never saw that reissue.
yeah, you didn't want to. Nah, it did nothing to make the Night of the Living Dead better. I don't know that they were trying to make Night of the Living Dead better. Like how? It was already good the way it was.
Yeah, exactly.
Anyway, so yeah, she super old lady, but she still runs like she's not old.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, at this point she should have been like brittle and like the other woman too. She's probably like 60 or whatever, if that, maybe a little older than that. But they did pretty good running through the woods. I love she's trying to escape. She's holding the teacup and she's like ah.
Right.
It's a little funny, but and so she falls because she has to trip because she's a woman in a horror movie. She falls and trips, and the lady die. I guess hits her in the head with a rock or something like that to knock her out. And she takes the teacup back, and then Scooby Gang comes and saves the day, and the cup turns on her. Like all the bad things turn on the people. Basically, is usually what happens in these episodes.
Right.
Yeah, and the villain dies, and pretty like she doesn't just like fall down and die. Like she kind of suffers and we have the little death rattle at the end. Like it's pretty like the bad makeup withstanding. She dies pretty gruesomely, I think. Yeah.
Do have the extra, I guess, maybe a bonus, depending on the way you look at it. I'm guessing this little girl was homeless, but
That's right. They find a little girl who steals the cup out of the Lady Di's bag, and Mickey and Ryan find her, and they're like, "Well, we'll put you up for a couple of days, and we'll give you food and some clothes," and she sort of becomes a mascot for the episode.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, I'm surprised they didn't keep her on for a couple episodes to.
Yeah, because didn't at the end, wasn't she going to go live with Birdie?
Yeah, or she was going to find her a place to live, something like that. Yeah, one of those things.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it has like a happy ending for at least those two characters. Yeah.
So yeah, a decent episode. I mean, it had some flaws, obviously, and we talked about those.
Yep.
But something else that I was thinking of when I was watching this episode or rewatching this episode was, I don't know how many of you guys are big fans of the original Star Trek television series, but there was an episode where the Star Trek Enterprise went to a planet where the kids got old. And I think Michael J. Pollard might have been on that episode. But the way that those kids supposedly looked was sort of like how this woman looked by the end of this episode.
We just finished the 4th episode, Uncle Bill.
Oh, was it? Yeah, what episode? Yeah. Yep, we did just finish the fourth episode. We're getting ready to cover the last one for tonight. But
I
TJ,
can't wait to call him Uncle Bill because I'm probably older than he is.
I'm definitely a few years older than both he and CK. But TJ, is there anything else you want to bring up about A Cup of Time before we go to this last episode?
No, the only critique I had was the little bit of the special effects early on. I think in a little bit of the makeup, the old age makeup later on, earlier on than later on. I don't know time. Anyway, but yeah, I think it was a solid.
Yeah.
Like they should have had this second episode, and then the second episode should have been 4th. I think it would.
Yeah.
The next Halloween episode is good.
Yeah. Which brings us to the final episode of tonight.
Halloween.
I like that.
I just broke something. Anyway.
Oh, I hope not. I heard something.
Yeah, that's okay.
So this is the Halloween episode, which gets a...
Or Halloween.
Yeah. However you want to say it. But we get the return of Uncle Lewis, kind of, and the return of R.G. Armstrong for a little bit. You know, something that I love about R.G. Armstrong is he's a guy that can play really sympathetic characters, like in oh gosh, just totally it dropped out. He was a sympathetic character, I think, in Children of the Corn. And he wasn't, he wasn't in it very long, but then he can play, kind of a little bit more on the evil side or the sadistic side too. But
a lot of westerns. I watching westerns with my dad. Once in a while, R.G. Armstrong will come up and I'll go, "Hey, I know that guy."
Oh, The Beast Within. He's a doctor on.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
But like on Evil Speak, his character on Evil Speak is like, yeah, he's kind of nasty on Evil Speak.
He's played nice people and he's played racists. And he's played lots of
different which I think makes him an incredible actor. I love R.G. Armstrong. And I'll watch him in anything, even if he is playing a bad guy, just because he's that great of an actor.
Mm-hmm.
And, I think it was really cool that they were able to get R.G. Armstrong for some of these episodes. Like, some actors would have shied away from this. And, no.
Yeah.
I'm a movie actor. I don't do this crap.
Yeah, he did Predator. Come on.
Yes.
Predator was before this, I think, right? Yeah, over the same time, I think, 87. Yeah, so.
Yeah.
And he did an episode of the show Werewolf, so he did some other TV stuff, too.
So Uncle Bill says he's old as dirt. Oh, you're not old as dirt, Uncle Bill. And Blissful says, I'm emotionally immature. I'm vintage, not vinegar. LOL. I like that.
I'm as old as the stars.
A shirt that says that. So I'm going to turn this over to TJ, and he's going to give us all the goods on this episode.
Well, we have Mickey as a sexy witch, I guess.
I think so.
She puts her hair up super big. And
I think Ryan says something about her being a good-looking wench, I think, at some point.
Well, is she a bar wench? Is that what she is?
I don't know. Maybe.
Black, sexy dress. Not as low cut as it could have been. I don't know why. Maybe she's like, I'm a serious actor. I'm not going to show my... So anyway, did you notice there's a scene? So Mickey's getting ready for Halloween. Ryan decided, hey, this place sort of has a bad rap with Uncle Lewis and everything. We're gonna make it all kind of like the neighborhood. We're gonna bring the neighborhood in, make sure we're gonna have everybody have fun. We're gonna have a party, and we're gonna open up the place. And Mickey's like, should we be doing this? What if someone takes a cursed object or something like that, and we're gonna keep track of everything? He's like, no, this is good for morale and the people will like us and all that crap. So she's getting ready, doing her hair and whatnot, and we see outside the window, and this hand comes up and sort of starts clawing at the window, and I was like, "Hello, has anybody seen Zombie? That is exactly like the scene in Zombie where the doctor's wife is changing and the zombie's hand comes up." I was like, I wonder if they copied that because it seems just exactly like that. Did you notice that?
Yeah, yeah. And I like this beginning scene though because it had a little bit of that juvenile, immature humor on Ryan's part because him and a friend of his, or I guess it's a friend of his, I think maybe the guy's name was Barry or something. But anyway, they had him hiding and something fell over in the room where Mickey was getting ready for the party and it scares her and then she thinks, "Oh, Ryan, you're trying to play a trick on me." And then the guy just kind of lays there like a dead body and then she gets scared all over again. Then he starts moving around and she gets mad and tells him how immature they're being and all that. But I don't know. I like that scene. I thought it was very amusing for this episode.
Yeah. Ryan's like, "Come on, it's Halloween."
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know what Ryan is dressed as. He's got like a feather in his hat and.
I don't know. I'm not really sure. I don't think they ever say in the episode.
I guess because considering he's a comic book nerd, he could have been, but they'd have to pay for using Spider-Man or something like that. But I think somebody had said at one point on some stream, I don't know who it was, but they're like, whenever it's Halloween, everybody has these like homemade costumes, and it's never like what the hip thing of the time, and that's how usually costumes go. But
right,
like, who actually dresses up as like random witch? It's like would be like the girl from it would be like the Sanderson sister or something like that.
And it probably is to do, or it definitely has to be because of rights stuff. They don't want to pay to have Spider-Man or whoever in these things because it would wipe out the TV budget just doing one of those characters.
And Jack is dressed as Gandalf or whatever the name of the.
Yeah, he's a
whatever the Lord of the Rings guy's name.
Wizard type of guy.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, he's gonna dress. Yeah, he's the occultist and he knows everything, so he's gonna dress up as.
Let's talk about Jack for a second here. This is Jack at his most seedy, I think. You know what I'm talking about? Where he's like pulling these little balls out of between these women's breasts. I'm like, Jack, what are you doing? Because this is the first episode I saw him be like that. This looks like
the 80s.
I would do.
It's the 80s. Well, in this episode, Jack is. I don't know if we're supposed to think that maybe Jack isn't as good as we think he is. Are there a couple instances? Did you think that there was a couple instances where you're like, is he the bad guy? What's going on here? Wait a minute.
Yeah, and maybe that it was done on purpose to make us like as watchers of the show, like not entirely trust Jack.
Yeah.
Or to go back and forth between trusting him and not trusting him.
So anyway, there's a fire, and everybody leaves. Well, not everybody. Some people get. The gang stays around because some supernatural shit has been happening. Just sort of happens out of the. There's like no build-ups. Well, this is sort of a build-up. Like, I think Ryan's friends are sort of walking around and they come across. Was it a crystal ball or something? Something.
I think they go in the vault.
That's what it is. Okay. Which Ryan mentions earlier. I put up a sign that says nobody go into the vault, and he has his crazy friends. He think he would trust them to not go in the vault. But
wouldn't you have like double and triple locks on that damn vault?
Ryan thinks putting up a sign is good enough. That's Ryan. That's how he works.
Yeah, Ryan's not being too smart in this episode. He's not being smart at all in this episode.
Oh, what I want to bring up is the music's really good in the series.
Mm-hmm.
And it's done by Fred Mullen, who did Jason Takes Manhattan. He did the soundtrack to that. And he's done tons of movies and TV shows. Like, he's done so many things. Like, I think he might have done more things than John Williams. And again, I think John Williams is very like, I do big things.
John Williams is all proper and stuff.
Yeah, I do Spielberg shit. So it's like, does the sprinkler go off or something? I think that's what it is. Mm-hmm. Oh no, the ceiling caves in. I don't know, something.
Oh,
the friends do something and the ceiling caves in. Anyway, well, we realize because this is Halloween, all the crazy thing can happen, and we are in the cursed, biggest cursed area you could be in. It's like being in the Warrens' basement. You know, I mean, it's not a good place. They probably shouldn't have been there on Halloween. And what Mickey said earlier made sense. And you figure Jack would have been like, maybe we shouldn't be playing around on Halloween when he knows all this.
Or maybe Jack should have been the one to say, maybe we ought to put some double and triple locks on this vault just to be on the safe side.
Well, that's what I was thinking. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. That maybe Jack, we were supposed to believe that maybe Jack is maybe not a good guy. You know, not a good guy, but like, you know, he might be a little bit evil. The fact that maybe he would have mentioned all this stuff and he wouldn't be like, oh, let's just go by the skin of our teeth and not try to.
And maybe this is me trying to read too much into the episode, but considering what happens later with Uncle Lewis, could Uncle Lewis have been pulling the strings a little bit?
Possibly.
To make Ryan make an even dumber decision than he normally would make, or to influence Jack somehow to not pay attention, turn a blind eye or whatever.
True. I mean, yeah, both. We're both right. That's how we stop the arguments. That could be part. Yeah, I mean, yeah. I don't know if the writers thought about it that deeply, but
right. Probably not. I'm probably reading way too much into it.
I mean, if we didn't do that, no one would have a YouTube channel if they didn't read way too much into this.
Right, exactly.
But there's a cool. I like the exploding pumpkin. That's cool. They're like trying to draw a pentagram on the ground to sort of ward off any spirits, and then like things start going crazy, and then like the pumpkin blows up. I was like, that was a good. So Uncle Lewis comes back, or his ghost does at least, and he has sort of a little. I guess this is familiar.
I don't know what the politically correct term.
Just say little person.
Yeah, little person. That's probably the best bet. But here's where I thought it got into. I'm going to see if TJ agrees with me at all. Where it got into phantasm territory here with the caskets and having the little person helping Uncle Lewis and all that. I mean, it just watching it this time around, it seemed to have a phantasm element towards the end of it.
I could see at a very base level. I can see what you're saying. Yeah, definitely. She's not a robe. She's not like in a hood or anything. She's not just like Jawa in this way.
Right.
Who did them first? Did you, Phantasm? Did you do the Jawas first? That's what. Who's the one that said Grogu was just baby gremlin? Gremlins. Empire Strikes Back was before Gremlins, and Baby Yoda is a grown-up version. It's a baby version of grown-up Yoda. You could, Joe Dante, what a bitch. Anyway, I I didn't mean that in a real way because I ever worked with them. Anyway, that's not going to happen. Okay. Anyway, yeah. So now, there's a little girl dressed as an angel. She ends up. Wait a minute. What happens to that little girl?
I don't like because Jack talked to her. She was sitting out on a bench out in front of the store,
Yeah.
and I don't know where she goes. Like it's like he says something to her, and then it's like she just goes off into the crowd of trick or treaters or whatever.
Is she supposed to be the little person disguised as a little girl?
That's what I thought because they seem to have the same costume on.
I'm gonna guess that's what it was. There was no. Did I miss a transformation scene?
I mean, I know I was fast forwarding through some of this, but I wasn't going that fast.
No, that's exactly what happens. It's the little girl is the little person in disguise. Okay, yeah, because she's leading Jack down this corridor, and the big cage comes down and traps him, and then she turns into the little person.
Okay,
that's what. Yeah, that's right. Okay, yeah. So they're trying to keep Jack away from Uncle Lewis, basically lying to Jack and Mickey, Ryan and Mickey, and he says we find this mysterious room that we didn't know was there, and there's this corpse there that's sort of it's very Dr. Phibes. You know how he tries to revive his wife who's dead, and he keeps her in suspended animation or whatever. So we find Uncle Lewis says it's my wife, and you have to find this amulet, and this amulet will bring her back to life because I want to. Because he's trying to convince them that he wasn't evil, that he was going to change his mind, that he didn't. Because in the pilot episode or the first episode, he's like saying, I don't want I'm taking back or whatever, and I don't want to be evil and blah blah blah. So that's why this episode was sort of maybe Uncle Lewis isn't as bad as we think he was because Jack says a bunch of he was the head of a coven and all that stuff. But no, he lied. That is not his wife. That he's trying to revive. The amulet can bring him back to life, and he has to do a ritual before sunrise, and he can come back to the world. So they sort of trap Mickey and Ryan, and they're trying to figure out what's going on and trying to solve the mystery of what Uncle Lewis is really doing. So Uncle Lewis has to find a body that he can transfer his soul into, and the body has to be a dead person who hasn't died violently. It has to have been like a quiet death, like
It's almost like the Child's Play thing where Chucky has to go into, but in that case, Chucky has to go into the body of the person he first revealed.
Yeah, right.
It's not really like an innocence thing. It just happens that he revealed himself to a child, and that's who he's. The body that he needs to take over.
Yeah, so he needs somebody who died of natural causes, not somebody who had violent death. Not somebody whose husband found them cheating on him with the teacher, and then strangles him, and then she turns into a ghost and croaks when she crawls on the floor. And I'm just describing. Making myself laugh. I'm sorry. Anyway. Sorry, Michelle Gellar. Anyway, never mind. People are gonna have to piece together because I'm not gonna explain what I just said. Anyway, so yeah, so they're trying to stop Uncle Lewis from transferring his soul, and there's a scene with the little person is like sort of trying to stop Mickey and Ryan from taking the body back that Uncle Lewis has found, because Uncle Lewis finally found the body. Founds a body, yeah. This is my English. Finds a body that he can use to transfer his soul into. And yeah, well, he doesn't succeed, obviously. His little person, I guess, is familiar. I'm gonna say familiar. She dies very violently. It's in bloody, it's like, and she's another one that she sort of like shakes around and like doing the like, it's really, they look like it was a fun death. Yeah, and they stop Lewis. They trick him, so because Lewis thinks he has a couple more minutes of daylight, of nighttime before the daylight comes in, but the clock has stopped, and they raise the shade or the curtain or whatever, and the light comes in from the window, and he sort of disappears. Another effect that wasn't great, but
Yeah. It was still better than the guillotine blade.
yeah, it reminded me of a cheaper version of the scene in Elm Street 3, where all the lights sort of come out of Freddy, and he sort of vanishes into the background or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, but I love the Halloween aesthetic of this episode. For a 5th episode, I think this was pretty good.
Yeah.
And the whole Uncle Lewis pretending that, can't trust him completely, but they fall for his act. And then they ask Jack at the end, did he really have this wife and that he was trying to bring back to life or whatever? And he goes, well, he did have a wife and she was real. And then he alludes to the fact that he either was infatuated with her or he had an affair with her.
Yeah.
But we don't know which one. Mm-hmm. So again, we still don't know a lot about Jack. And I mean, we trust him.
We're still getting to know Jack.
But yeah, we're still getting to know his past, and we don't know everything about him.
I think he was in love with
well, that's pretty
his wife. Yeah.
Pretty obvious, I think.
Mm-hmm. And there's a kind of playfully tender moment where Mickey and Ryan are kind of teasing Jack about, it sounds like, really what they were saying, sounds like you got a thing for Lewis's wife. That's what they were saying, but they're being nice about it.
Actually, I just looked at the clip with real quick when Uncle Lewis disappears. It's less Freddy 3. It's more like someone got an eraser and started erasing him.
Yeah, that's a perfect way to describe it.
I was giving it too much credit. Anyway.
Well, I think it's because both you and I, overall, we like this series.
Yeah.
And
I don't like the 3rd season because of something that happens, but we won't spoil it until we get to it.
Yeah. We're gonna unfortunately have to talk about that when we.
Yeah.
So this has officially reached the end of our 5-episode breakdown of the first season of Friday the 13th, the series. Now I'm going to. What do you think? 10 episodes next time, TJ?
Yeah, that sounds good.
Okay. And I'll have to get on the stick and get my button gear and all that and make sure that I give myself plenty of time to watch 10 of those episodes. So because these, I guess, I don't know if all the seasons have 26 episodes. Maybe the last.
The 3rd one has less. The 3rd one, they canceled the show earlier than they thought it was gonna go. So yeah, I forget how many episodes in the 3rd season. Damn, internet is not giving me every season. I have to search. Oh. It's giving me one at a time. You dumb internet.
Something else I like about, and I'm hoping that the complete
20.
20. Okay.
Yeah.
The complete box set I got, I hope it has these special features like this single first season that I have. It's got the
Oh,
original network launch promos
oh,
uh,
cool.
on it.
I
So
like those things.
yeah, I think that's pretty cool because I'm a sucker for going back and seeing. Like I like to watch old commercials. Like there's that nostalgia thing again. Like I love it when and a lot of people do this on YouTube, and I'm surprised that a lot of it hadn't gotten pulled off for copyright reasons. But a lot of people will put out like uh movie of the week type of things or cartoons like the Saturday morning cartoons
Yeah.
back in the 80s and in some cases the 70s. And these must have been rich people if they were able to record stuff, back in the 70s and stuff. But anyway, they a lot of times will have the original commercials in there,
Hmm.
and I just love going back, and it takes me back to that time. You've got the Maxwell House coffee commercials. Do you guys remember those when especially around Christmas time the person comes home for Christmas and it's one of those Maxwell House coffee commercials, and they're I guess they're not expecting the son to come home for Christmas.
Yeah.
Maybe he told him he wasn't going to make it that year or something, and it's like, "Oh, you're home."
Eyebrows, slap, slaps.
But I just love that kind of. Some people might say, "Oh God, that's syrupy, sweet kind of junk." I don't like that, but it literally takes me back to how I felt
Hmm.
at that point in time when those were actually the commercials that were on. And
Right.
you go back and you see the toys that were popular at that time. Some people might think that's kind of lame now. They show some of the games, and a lot of that stuff was prior to the big video game boom. So it was, other types of toys that, and there's some kids now that probably will be like, "What? What did you play with before video games?" um,
We had toys that were dangerous. We had ovens that cook things, and we had
I had an easy bake
child
oven.
stuff and stuff that used to shoot things, and now you can't do that anymore because it might hurt somebody because they can't. Meanwhile, I'm not going to say. I'm not going to talk about the G word. I don't know if we can talk about the G word on
Um,
unless we're
yeah.
talking about like a war or something like that.
Uh, Blissful says, "I love you can choose the decade for commercials," and you pretty much can. If you just go to YouTube and you put 1970s commercials or 1980s commercials or whatever,
Hmm.
you can definitely see those. You can see all those old Charmin. Don't squeeze the Charmin commercials. The guy that has to make the donuts. He's like, "Time to make the donuts," and
Oh yeah.
it's like the revolving door of this guy leaving his house and coming back. Time to make the donuts and stuff. I didn't
It's
realize.
Barbie.
Yeah, exactly. Easy bake ovens were so much to build Barbie doll parts. I knew of people that did that. I never did that with my easy bake oven, but I was so excited. You know, how can you be excited over something that when you get to be an adult, it's like, "Oh God, I got to use this thing. I got to use the oven again," you know? But when I was a kid, that was like the coolest thing ever. I think my parents got me, or Santa Claus, I should say, got me an easy bake oven when I was a little girl, and I was so excited to bake a cake in my easy bake oven, and I'm not talking about a big cake. And let's be honest, a lot of that stuff tasted like shit. It didn't taste that great, but it was just a whole
You
experience.
cooked with a light bulb. What do you think it was going to taste like?
But I think it was just the whole experience of this is my oven. this isn't mommy's oven. This is my oven, and I'm getting to do my own thing here.
Right.
So I think that was what the allure was of things like that. But my brother had a light bright, and when we got sick of doing the already pre-printed, jobbies that you would put on there,
Yep.
we would make our own. We would take coloring book pages and just, if it was an apple or something, we put all the red lights in there and
Yep.
stuff. We got creative after a certain amount of
Those
time.
are the good light brights, not the ones now that are all LCD and shit. The ones that like could burn your house down. Those are the good ones.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Um, Blissful, even though I never put Barbie doll parts in an easy bake oven, I don't know if I've told you guys this story before. You're going to think me and my cousin Heather are really sadistic now. But when we were, I don't know, all of 12, maybe 11, 12, somewhere around there, we got the big idea. We had a weenie roast. I was visiting her during the summer. So we had a weenie roast, and like the fire was smoldering, now because we had just finished up and everything. And of course, my Aunt Pam said, "You girls be careful around where we had that fire and don't be messing around." Well, that's exactly what we did. And there was a little bitty flame still in there. And we took sticks and caught them on fire a little bit and then took her younger sister's dolls and pushed these flaming sticks into the eyeballs of these dolls. And I don't know why we did this, why it occurred to us to do something like that. But, the crazy stuff you do when you're a young kid that you would never think about doing now, or I would hope you would not think about doing now that you're an adult.
Isn't
Uh,
that what Michael Myers did in Rob Zombie's Hall?
Probably did. But that was way before that movie was out. So
Yeah, they stole it from
can't say that that influenced us or anything.
yes.
But anyway, before I get off on multiple tangents, we'll try to tie this up because I'm still doing the job of our guy that divvies out the tickets on the help desk. So I got to get
Ah,
some sleepy time in me, so I'll be all alert for tomorrow.
sleepy, sleepy.
Blissful says she gave up crazy in her 30s. I don't think I've ever completely given up crazy because I come up with some crazy shit sometimes. Uh, but yeah, I have definitely come out of the stick and flaming sticks and doll's eyes stage, thank God. But
I'm not crazy.
that's a cool mess too. So anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this first edition. Me and TJ kicking off this Friday the 13th, the series episode breakdown. Um, this is going to continue for quite a while, I think. Uh, so please bear with us, and I hope you guys get some enjoyment out of these. And I hope West or CK doesn't come on here and tell us we're boring everybody to tears or whatever.
And rewatch them so Dana can get some money.
Well, the actually the only way that I can get money after the fact and people don't give super chats is, and I'm not trying to guilt anybody, and I'm just explaining how the process works, is if people give super thanks because my all my or most all my videos are monetized now.
Yeah.
So if somebody goes and watches them later, there's a little thing that says thanks on it. And if you click on it, you can choose what amount that you want to give.
Right.
But again, I'm not trying to guilt anybody into doing that. But basically, if you don't give super chats while the live is going on, that's, I believe, the only other way I can get revenue at this point. And as I said earlier, it's going to take a while because YouTube's threshold is $100. You got to get to $100
Yep.
before they will pay you out. And they have to take their, from what I understand from CK, YouTube takes their cut and Google takes their cut of your money as well. So, and I think I made a total of like $10.
Woo! It's $10 you didn't have. Hey, why not? You know.
Yeah, exactly. But I won't see it until I get up to 100. So, again, not trying to guilt anybody, just explain how the process works there. I'm still continuing to enjoy doing these with or without revenue. So I'm definitely going to keep doing them regardless. Um, but let's see. I don't know if I have anything planned for tomorrow. I don't right now. I'll just say that. I don't have anything planned for tomorrow night, but that doesn't mean that I won't, you know, pull something out of my butt and do something. I know that's a weird way to put it,
Yeah,
but
don't
I
say
want
that again.
I want to thank everybody for being in the chat. I want to thank TJ for being my co-host again.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Thank you, Blissful, Chris, everybody else. No one else here. Anyway.
Christy says, by the way, Arrow summer sale is going on. Oh God, I can't spend any more, Chris. I spent way, way beyond my, or way, way what I should have spent. I just
We
went.
need food. I can't buy this.
Well, yeah, me and Steve are gonna have to get groceries again here, and well, I'm gonna have to get groceries because I paid for our groceries. That's one of the many bills that I take care of. So, anyway, I guess that's it for tonight, and I plan on us returning next Wednesday with another stream. This time, we're gonna try to cover 10 episodes.
Woo!
Chris says he can't spend any more either. So same boat that
It's nice to watch people go, I'm going to buy this and this, and all. My cart's up to 500. I'm like, fuck you. I don't have that $500 to spend. If I did, I'd be with you guys doing that. But yeah.
yeah, doesn't that
I
just
could
drive
be
you?
mad in not saying it. Well, I just said it now, but I could be mad behind the scenes. I'm not mad. I'm just like, I wish I had extra money that I could like.
Yeah, I
But then
think.
some people are like, wait a minute, but I gotta like, I can't buy anything for like this amount of time. And I'm like, okay, well, that's.
But you just wonder if some of these people, I'm not saying all of them, but some of these people have eviction notices on their house or their apartment at that point in time because they're spending too much money on things that they shouldn't be spending it on. So you got to think about food and housing and all of that before you think about going crazy. But that's just a
Yeah.
public service message by me. Um, Blissful's requesting that you wear a smoking jacket next week, TJ.
Buy me one and I'll wear it.
That's what I was going to ask. Do you own one?
Send Dana some money so I can buy. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah. Well, if we made a lot of revenue off of these videos, I would owe you some money, TJ, because you're on here with me.
Oh, aren't you sweet?
Uh, Chris says Mill of the Stone Women would be that, and the house that screamed, LOL, and eaten alive.
Ah,
And then he says, and yes, rent and food.
yeah. Black.
Blissful's asking for the color.
Black.
I think it should be like old Jacoby and just one of the guys.
It was like red and what was it? Red and black or something like that.
Yeah, those. You need that one. That would be awesome.
Well, we'll be talking about two of my favorite episodes. Of my two of my top favorite episodes.
Cool. So you guys can look
Next time.
forward to all that next time. And on that note, I'm going to skedaddle on out of here for the night, and I will see everyone on the flip side. Y'all have a good night now. TJ, you have a good night.
You too.
And I will see everybody next time.
Bye.
Bye.